Hello there, people, and welcome back to my series in Kerbal Space Program. And if I sound tired, it's because I'm horrifically tired. I finished this mission last night. I'm recording the audio first thing in the morning, 4 a.m. Um, and yeah, as you can see, we're in the spaceplane hangar this time. We're not in the VAB, and I'm building a plane, which is a bit of a departure for me so far. And yeah, this mission is probably one of the more unknown space missions because the space vehicle itself didn't actually go into space in the way that it wasn't intended to. It was a high atmospheric test. I'm looking at the X-15 rocket plane. But what I'm building here is the B-52 kind of ship that took it high enough and then dropped it. I've never really done planes in Kerbal Space Program. This is a completely new experience for me. And I'm trying to make it as realistic as possible with 4 engine pods, but I've only got like a vague knowledge of how to build a stable plane. I know that you need lots of struts to hold all the little pieces of wings together. I know that oxidizer isn't important in low atmosphere, but other than that, I'm making this up completely as I go along. I'm not very happy with the like stock parts for planes. They're like they don't look like they composite a real plane. Like the back end is just shorn off and stuff like that, and they're not like rounded in a complete way, and the heat shielding texture at the bottom doesn't fit with certain cockpits and things like that. That's just a nitpick. But yeah, I'm building this and I'm going to test this first because in many ways this is the most important part because this is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting. So yeah, with planes, what you do is you build the wings and then you put control surfaces on them to actually do the steering because the wings are just provide lift, they don't provide like steering capability. But yeah, so this is going to be my finished plane that we're going to just take it for a quick test run. I should let you know ahead of time, this is quite a long video, but it's not because I've not sped things up, because the whole process took me about 10-12 hours from what you're watching now to the end of the 40-minute video that this is going to be. Like, I'll put points where you can skip stuff that's repeated or whatever. I'm trying to show as much as possible. But if things have just, like, I've launched and I've not got any fuel or for some reason something's gone wrong, I'll just skip that attempt. But here we go, I've throttled up, and because these are jet engines, not rocket engines, it does take quite a long time for for it to respond to what you want it to do. And I'm already pulling up here and nothing's really happening, so what I've done is I've put an escape tower on the front just to give it a little bit of extra kick. But it seems that when I've actually got pitched up by about 10 degrees, it's still accelerating, so this is actually flying quite well. And yeah, this cockpit holds three Kerbals. I've got in here I've got 3 main Kerbals, Bill, Bob and Jeb, and they seem to be loving it. They can't see crap all out of that escape tower in the front, but it's flying really straight. Okay, speeding up doesn't help. I don't know what's happened there. Okay, try and get level flight back. I really don't want to lose any Kerbals, especially seeing as this is just a test flight. And I'm gonna be honest with you, in the whole time I've been playing Kerbal Space Program, I've never actually landed a plane. But yeah, while I'm going to bring this round and try for a landing, this is how the setup of what it's actually going to look like. The B-52 you can see there is called the 008 B-52, or they called it Balls 8. And underneath the wing, as you can see between I think it's the second engine and the third engine on the underside, is an X-15 rocket plane, which looks like this. And when it was dropped, a single unmodifiable throttle rocket just fired and they pitched straight up basically. And the reason this is important in terms of first missions is because this was actually the one I'm doing, which occurred just after Mariner 2, is one of the 2 flights of this space vehicle that managed to actually be internationally recognized as going into space. They were both by the same pilot. Who was it? It's Joseph Walker. And yeah, he was recognized internationally as being an astronaut in this vehicle, which I'm just going to show you a cutaway of. I always find like the interior documents and things really interesting. But yeah, while this vehicle was first used in 1959, around the time of Sputnik, the actual flight was in 1963 that went into space. And it looks like, here we go, got kind of lined up for landing. So let's just show you how this goes. I mean, I like Flight Simulator, but Kerbal Space Program is not like Flight Simulator in the slightest. So yeah, gear down and trying to line things up on the center. And cut throttle. Okay, fair enough, engine gone. But that's a landing you can walk away from, so I suppose we should be happy with that. But that shows that our B-52 type plane works. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and design the X-15 rocket plane, and because of Kerbal Space Program's limitations, I'm not going to be able to sling that under. What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to put it on top, because the landing gears are a lot smaller than the width of the solid rocket engine, which I'm using for this. So it's going to be on top, in the middle. It's got to be in the middle as well, otherwise it'll veer off to the left or right, well, depending on which side it is. And all I'm doing is a simple cockpit with wings and a tail fin, and that's basically it. It's just sitting on top of a decoupler. I mean, there should be literally nothing more simple than this. So here we go. Launch 1. And already I've forgotten to put crew in the capsule. Okay. So let's have a look at who we've got. We've got 3 more Kerbals that I've been training in the background. And I think for this mission, while these 2 are quite courageous, I think this mission needs pure stupidity. So that's why I've chosen him. Okay, launch 2 already. Off to a good start, I guess. I'm just going to test the decoupling mechanism here. Okay, the engines fire up. And then, okay, that works. That's fine. So imagine we're in the air, like 15,000 feet. Putting the brakes on. And then decouple. And then switch over. Oh, crap. Okay, well it looks like it's wanting to switch to the radar vehicle that we made last time. And for some reason that doesn't have the antenna on anymore. That is very strange. Where's the antenna gone? Because that means that's completely useless now. I might have to withdraw that to the spaceplane hangar and bring it out again if I need it, because it's getting in the way of me being able to switch between the vehicles. Well, let's try that again with that gone. Okay, after another unsuccessful launch, this is the one I actually recorded. The engine fire, that's perfect. And then we can switch straight to the vehicle, and there's not enough time for me to stage it. I mean, that's not going to be a problem when we're in the air. It's a problem because we're on the ground. There's literally no time to do anything. So, I guess you can see why this was getting quite frustrating. Okay, well let's try taking this to altitude, and then we'll see if I can decouple successfully and switch over in time. Okay, throttle up. We've got good speed going. Why are we're veering to the right quite heavily, and I've lost an engine. What? Okay, let's try that again. Okay. I have seen the problem. Yeah, I need to, as you can see, it's not on the center, is it? The rocket on top, it's slightly to the right. Okay, well let's just center that and try again. And what I'm doing is I'm putting on a few rockets, because I'm a bit confused as to why I'm not getting any lift at all when I'm sat, you know, with full throttle and everything, and my vehicle does respond when it's in the air quite well. So there we go, and a bit of extra kick from the escape tower. And this is flying just as straight as it did before I put the rocket on top, so that's going really well, actually. See, this is optimism coming out. It's completely unfounded, stupid optimism, because we're only 10 minutes into a 40-minute video. Okay, so we're coming through the cloud layer now. Let's bring this back to 1x speed. Still flying quite straight. 7,000 feet. I think this is too low down to actually decouple, but still got loads of fuel, so we can take it very, very high actually compared to where we are now. Problem is, I'm seeing it start to drift up slightly, and I don't know why that's happening. So I'm just trying to bring it pitched down a bit, because if you pitch up too high, you're going to bleed off too much speed, and I've got no control over it at the moment whatsoever. I'm pulling hard down, and I'm still just about holding center. 11,000 feet, and I think it's going to be almost time to disconnect the rocket part of this ship. And I'm thinking it could be a fuel problem, so I'm trying to rebalance the fuel between tanks to bring more forward and lower the nose. But it doesn't seem to be doing enough. And I'm tipping back, and I can't hold this. So if I throttle down, that seems to be working. Don't know why that would be working. Maybe I need to angle the engines, but I really don't know. But then I'm losing speed, so... and very soon I'm going to be losing altitude as well. 15,000 over the many attempts I did at this is about as high as I could get this vehicle. And as you can see on the gimbal at the bottom, the yellow prograde line is just starting to dip down, meaning I'm losing height, and I'm pointing straight. Oh, this is terrible. Okay, disconnect. That seems to go quite well. Oh, until the retro rockets, the small rockets, stop firing. I cannot for the life of me pull this vehicle upwards. I think those little wings, even though they've got surfaces on them to pull me up, they're just not working, even with RCS on full. The RCS in the cockpit isn't enough to pull me up. So try and flip up and pitch down, which should put my face, should point the nose of the vehicle upwards, but that's not working either. This one wants to go horizontal, which would be amazing if the B-52 rocket I've made could get me high enough, but it's just not doing it. So this is another scrapped attempt back to the vehicle assembly building, and I think a complete redesign of my X-15 is required. And then while you're watching that, I'll tell you a bit about why the X-15 project was important for later spaceflight. Ooh, as I start to burn up and the engine cuts out. Brilliant. But yeah, the X-15 was amazing because it actually provided most of the famous astronauts in the 60s and 70s with their first flights really in high atmosphere. I mean, there was Neil Armstrong, but these were back in like the 1950s when they weren't actually space flying planes. Who else? So lots of other kind of like third pilots for Apollo missions, and people who were scheduled for Gemini but never actually flew and stuff like that. They drew from X-15 flights. Yeah, there were only I think 3 X-15s that were built, but they flew 200 flights. So they're incredibly reused vehicles. And I mean, there were some fatalities during it, because I think the landing mechanism involved dropping the wings and using steel skids. Because to maintain aerodynamic flight, they needed fins around the rocket engine at the back that were wider than the ground clearance they had. So as they got into the ground, they just dropped the wings and kind of ballistically flew it in, which sounds absolutely insane, which is why I guess they were perfect candidates for going into space, because they must have gone through all kinds of problems flying at altitude and trying to manage the vehicle like that. In terms of scientific research, it didn't provide a lot of research. It was more of a endurance and rocket test bed, as well as what could happen in aerodynamic Gs. And yeah, what you can see me doing in the video now is I'm trying to bring it back around to the Space Center so that I can launch the vehicle straight up. And my main plane really doesn't want to do it, and that's when I realize I've got no tail fin on either of my vehicles, meaning I've got no yaw control whatsoever. So I try and correct it by pitching up and down at an angle, and that's just not working. Same problem as last time. I just upend myself, and then when the intakes are obscured, the oxidizer cuts out and my engines stop. Okay, I'm in a death spin. That's not great. So let's try that again, and I'm taking the experience of my past mistake, and I am putting on a quick modification. As you can see, I put 2 tailplanes on there, but it just does it anyway. This is about the point when I think, okay, let's just leave Kerbal Space Program for a couple of hours, do the laundry or whatever, but then it's really addictive. You can't just leave it undone. But yeah, I cut the engines and I can just about get aerodynamic control back with this one. So let's give it a go. Let's see what my new and improved X-15 can do. Okay, pitching up, sort of, kind of. Fire the engine, and for God's sake. Okay, I've got more control surfaces, and now I can't even pitch up above the horizon. Yeah. I mean, I'm checking to make sure everything's working, and yeah, it is. I just can't understand why. I mean, okay. Back to the VAB, and I think about doing some real changes with the shape of the rocket, but then I have a stroke of genius. I think this decoupling business is giving me problems. So I make the X-15 the primary vehicle. I put a decoupler on the bottom, and then what I do is I make the carrying vehicle as a droppable stage, like a fuel tank, basically, if you were doing this with a rocket. It's going to be pretty much exactly the same vehicle, it's just going to operate backwardsly in the way the decoupler works. And I use this as well to do a little bit of redesign for the X-15 and the flight surfaces for the main vehicle. And I'm just going to shut my cat up. Hello again. Yeah, cats, they like to let you know it's time to wake up, but the cats don't realize that I've been awake pretty much all night trying to do this, so thank you, but also go screw yourself and lock in another bedroom. So yeah, I'm basically just rebuilding the same rocket as last time. It's still got the 4 stages underneath, more landing gears this time, just to I'm trying to work out what's not letting me take off while I'm still on the runway, and so I'm messing with the center of gravity and with extra landing gears and all that kind of stuff. I mean, spoiler alert, it does nothing. So yeah, launch 13. Basically a completely new arrangement for my rocket, and at the minute it seems to be okay. Throttling up is leaving no problems. Still, when I'm trying to pull up now, and it's still not giving me anything. It's wobbling a bit, which is more aerodynamic control than I had. last time, but it's still absolutely nothing. So yeah, let's bring this to a stop. Okay, maybe a bit too close to the end of the runway to bring this to a stop, but oopsie, oopsie, everything's okay, oopsie. Okay, so let's try that again. Got my Kerbals loaded. I think I'm about into 8 hours of doing this now. Launch 14. I wasn't actually recording my audio. Oh, for God's sake. Okay. What was the problem this time? The problem is I've got no fuel in those stages. This time I put fuel in, but I don't have fuel connectors on one side anymore, meaning that I'm just turning on 2 engines. But I think, well, if I can get far enough away, I can pick up some speed and try this new rocket out. I've not had the chance to try it out yet. Try the X-15 stage. Okay, I've decoupled at the moment. Everything's still good. I'm flying straight. So if this was in the air, that would be perfect. And pull up. And that gives me some kind of hope. That is working perfectly. That is what I want to see when I'm at 15,000 feet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this flight now to simulate whether I can actually land this. It makes more sense to me now, after spending so many hours doing this, that I'm already here. Let's just see if I can actually finish this mission or whether I need to redesign it. And it makes no sense to spend another 10 hours, perhaps, trying to get the plane flying straight if I can't land this stage of it. So what I do is I'm trying to line myself up with a runway because this rocket, I can't turn it off. So I'm trying to line up and not build up too much speed or distance from the runway. And yeah, that's engine cut off. So what I should do now is be able to bring it round. And oops. It's quite twitchy. That's because I've got massive steering canards at the front, which do a lot of the aerodynamic force before the air moves to the back of the vehicle. So let's just get below the cloud layer because I can't actually see anything. I don't know where I'm going. 200-ish meters a second. It's too fast to land on, but at the minute I need that speed to get me to the runway. And pitch up slowly so I don't lose that speed. And I can see the runway. So what I'm going to do now is kind of look, and I think I want to keep about 10 to 15 degrees negative to get me to the runway and not bleed off too much speed. Yes, okay. So I'm lined up now, and I'm just kind of fighting with the intention of the vehicle to put its nose down, and that's why you see it jigging. It's not like RCS or anything kicking in. That's me tapping the S key to try and keep my nose up. Okay, we've gone from 200 to 90, and at that rate, I'm kind of worried that it's going to be 0 before we're even at the end of the runway. But actually, the drop off, it's only gone down to 87 now, so I think this is a pretty solid speed. Kerbal Space Program doesn't have the best kind of aerodynamic model. Ferrum Aerospace could do that, but I mean, I don't use planes a lot, and I don't see the need that much for rockets. But when 0.24 comes about, I'll be doing a career mode with Ferrum Aerospace and everything like that, and life support mods and stuff. Okay, we're down to 70s, and we're looking a little bit low. Okay, I'm gonna tap G for the gear. Okay. Using the kind of slewing to the left and to the right using the tail rudder. Okay, let's just pitch up a bit to lose some speed. Here we go, here we go. Wheels are apparently non-existent. What the hell happened? The wheels aren't deployed, why? Oh god, okay, this is one of the most annoying things about Kerbal Space Program, is that you need to deploy your gears twice for some reason before they'll go down, and then after that you can just press it once to lift them or lower them. Anyway, so we know my vehicle works. I now know that I need to press G twice. And we're only at 8,000 feet and my vehicle's starting to twitch. And I don't think I'm going to have enough height. I mean, we are pointing straight up, which is getting me a lot of altitude. But I'm not going to be able to recover the B-52 if that happens. Oops, okay, well, okay, I'm just going to have to jettison this. But not at the moment, because I'm facing downwards. Spin it around. Okay, there we go. The parachutes are just helped to recover that. And in atmosphere, I do actually have some aerodynamic control over this when I'm flying. The rocket is firing, and I'm now going from horizontal to vertical, which is perfect. As long as I can get above 70,000 and into space, I'm going to say that this was the same as the historic flights that actually went into the atmosphere, outside of Earth's recognized space limit, at least. Thing is, if I go too high, I've got to worry about re-entry heat, and I can't stop that because of the solid burning rocket. So let's just have a look at how far I'm getting. Okay, still got a ways to go. But the higher I get, the more that rocket is doing. Okay, this one has done it. It's a really big arc though, and I'm thinking that I'm going to be on the wrong side of the mountains. Oh dear. Okay, let's have a look at the dial. When it goes above 70, that will mean that the primary mission is complete, but it's no good if my pilot can't get back home. Okay, let's just speed this up a bit. And that's 70 there, so yeah, I'm definitely... This rocket is definitely capable of doing it, I know that at least, but I cannot glide back to the Space Center from there. And to me that's the part of getting this done that I wanted to do most of all, because I can get a rocket into space. I don't know if I'm able to land a plane, because as you can see from my one attempt with this vehicle, I hit the runway and exploded. But this is going to see how it copes with the re-entry effect at least, and yeah, it's just a complete slave to the aerodynamic direction I'm going in. And the speed just bleeds off so quickly. I'm going to have to work a lot harder at getting towards the Space Center. Okay, 29 minutes in. In real life, this was 11 hours maybe? I mean, it was during the World Cup, so I wasn't that worried. I had nothing to do except watch Mexico on the telly. And there we go, a little loop-de-loop and fire. So that's, you know, doing it with a bit of style. And at least that looks like it's kind of supposed to. I'm leaving the plane flying straight behind me. And it's at this stage my voice has gone because I was screaming at myself last night. And I've been talking for about half an hour this morning. Okay, it's going well. Now what I'm doing is I'm switching back to the map view just to try and maintain my loop to be somewhere near the Space Center. And the problem with that is you've got to accommodate for the rotation of Kerbal underneath you at the same time. So what you want to do is you want to put yourself a little bit into the sea in front of the Space Center. But you've also got to make sure you're going to be lined up with the runway, so you've got to keep it on the equator. because the runway is pretty much, you know, 0 degrees north-south. And it's at this point I think I've probably got a bit too much fuel in this. Way too much fuel. But I should be coming down a bit close to the Space Center. I think I should be on the right side of the mountains this time, which is the big hazard, because I mean, if I can glide straight, that's fair enough. If I can glide straight and I got to go through a mountain, that's not so good. So yeah, I'd just like to emphasize the point that this the X-15 has been flying for a decade at this point, and it's basically an unchanged vehicle. It's just a glider with a rocket engine built inside it. And you know, after 50 or so flights, there were some American recognized astronauts, which, to be honest, the American standard for are you an astronaut is can you jump high enough? Whereas with the International Aviation Authority, there was some kind of, you know, 1,000-kilometer limit. And only 2 flights by the same pilot ever did that. So that's what this is representing, and it was just after Mariner 2. But this was a fully pressurized vehicle, it was a space plane, it was all these kinds of firsts that are really quite overlooked because this was just straight after the Mercury missions and just straight before the Gemini missions, which actually were kind of more, you know, space. It was part of the stepping stones of getting to the moon, which this really wasn't. It was quite a dead end in terms of that. Okay, so trying to pull up so I don't lose all of the speed down. I can try and pull some of it towards the Space Center, and it's just not having it. This vehicle can't cope with that. So, for God's sake, pull up. I've got no control. No control. No control. Okay, I'm just starting to get some kind of horizontal now, and I've already burnt off so much speed. Yeah, oh, for God's sake. Okay, well, let's just have a look at... Yeah, I'm way too far from the Space Center. I'm not lined up. I'm too far away. Trying to kind of abuse the physics of Kerbal Space Program and wiggle some extra speed out. It's just not having it. Okay. Launch 19. You're still there. I'm not sure if I'm still here. And again, this is a really unpredictable vehicle. Sometimes it just likes to pitch over, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, if you want to like see an X-15 in real life, they've got quite a few of them dotted about. The X-15-1, I think, is in the National Air and Space Museum in Washington. The second one is in Ohio, I think in the Dayton Air Force Base, like near Chicago. And then there's the Research and Development Hangar, which has got like the Bell X-1, which was the Chuck Yeager flight vehicle that broke the speed of sound. And yet the flights that went into the atmosphere weren't necessarily the quickest ones. The horizontal flights that didn't go out the atmosphere were the quickest flights of the X-15, and that was your Neil Armstrongs and your other astronauts doing that. But okay, this is a lot more measured and controlled now. I've got a good angle. I'm quite kind of confident that I can not put all of this energy horizontal. I'm gonna sacrifice... Yeah, I'm gonna sacrifice distance for height so that I can be close enough to the Space Center, because I'm realizing that whatever height I'm at, I bleed down to the same kind of 100 meters per second when I get in the atmosphere, so I need to be near that Space Center. And let's think, with rotation, maybe this one could do it. I've got my fingers crossed, and you know, in real life, if I was recording my voice, I was swearing to myself at this point. Okay, so let's just speed this up a little bit and glide through the loop. I'm well above 70 already. So that part of the mission is successful. I just got to get him home now. And as you can see, I've got a solar panel on there, and that's basically just to help with the SAS module I've put on. Because when you're pulling up, you can't rely on the cockpit SAS to give you enough control over your aerodynamics. And if I sound a little expert on this, don't believe me, it's all a ruse. I learned all of this last night through trial and many, many recorded errors, but as you can see, I'm coming down now over the green landmass. Okay, we're inside the atmosphere 60-50. Okay, we're still getting some re-entry. It's a bit nail-biting. I don't want to be too confident yet, because we've seen how that goes. Okay. Not pitching up yet, but I'm pitching. Okay, I'm pitching up slightly, and I don't think I'm going to try this inside cockpit because I want to see if my gear's open. So I'm going to be doing this from outside. Okay, and I'm horizontal. And now let's check where the runway is. Okay, we still got some speed, not as much as I would like, but wow, we're a lot closer to the runway. Okay, now it is just a case of trying to hold the glide slope. Okay, this is... Now I've got to try and not point at the runway until I get parallel in front of it, so then I can turn in to face it. I just got to keep holding kind of level for now and not lose the speed. If I start to drop speed, you drop the nose and you can pick a bit more speed up. Now, the things that's going through my head when I'm doing this is basically nothing. I'm in a moment of complete fear and zen at the same time. Okay, we're getting close. I'm gonna just try and line up now with the runway. Okay, and now the wiggling is, like I say, it's just to kind of use the physics in Kerbal Space Program to get a bit of distance. But based on the previous flight, I at least got to the runway before I exploded in flames. This one should please get there. Okay, and then this bit I actually recorded, so I'm going to cut back now to me live as I was recording it. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna pitch down a little bit now because I need to be kind of hitting the end of the runway. I don't want to kind of glide over into the middle of it. Oh, glitching. Okay, gears are down. Okay, I'm just rotating a bit now with the with the SAS. Okay. Pull up. Pull up. Pull up, hit the runway. Okay, okay. Okay, brake. No, don't lose it, don't lose it, don't lose it, don't lose it. Yes! Okay, that is one Kerbal who has made it in a plane out of the atmosphere and back home safely. He has ruined his vehicle, but he's there alive. Well, if you're still here, thanks a lot for watching that. That was a living hell for me. Remember, you can subscribe to get my latest video as soon as it's submitted, and the next mission, coming up sometime this week, will be a USA mission to Duna. Thanks for watching.